Welcome to the Wonderwolle podcast. My name is Andrea and you're watching the Considered Creativity Series episode 4. You can find me on the internets all over the place as Wonderwolle. I have a Ravelry group, Wonderwolle Ravelry group, and Instagram is probably the place where you would have the best time getting in touch. How are you all this week? It hasn't been too busy a week this week for us. I've had lots of knitting time, which is great, and you'll see that I've got quite a few things going on that are close to being, they're not close to being finished, but they've had a lot of work done on them, which is great. If you're wondering about why I call this the Considered Creativity Series, it's because I find that I need to have a purpose to making what I'm making. And so even though it's so much fun to go and make frivolous things that are pretty and lovely, I find that if I make those things, then they sit in my closet and I never wear them. And so the Considered Creativity Series is about me trying to find the focus to make the things that work the best in the wardrobe that I have, and to create a wardrobe that works the best for me in my life. I am a working mum. I work about 30 hours a week, and so I need clothes and garments that can see me through both the life of a busy mum and also relatively corporate job. Not like suits kind of corporate, but I still have to look pretty well presented the majority of the time. And even though I'd really like to be able to wear more casual-ish clothes, it's not always possible. We're not even allowed to wear jeans actually, so it really does put some limitations on the types of things that I would like to wear. Though I have to say I do wear black jeans on Friday every now and again, and nobody's ever said anything, so I'll just keep going with that, I think. I hope you've all had an excellent week. If you're a returning viewer, thanks so much for coming back and checking me out again. And if you're a new viewer, thanks for checking out my podcast. I know there's a lot of podcasts out there. There's not too many Australian podcasts. I think that there's more. There's getting to be more. But Australia's such a big place, and we're so far away from the rest of the world that it's hard for us to connect, I think, with other podcasters, especially if we live in places that are a little bit more remote. I know of a handful of people who podcast that are nearby-ish to me, but still a good 3 or 4 hours drive away. So, you can't always get to places where you're going to meet up with other people who are doing similar things. So for the episode today, I have a finished object, 1.5 finished objects, and a couple of things on my needles. I don't have any sewing this week. I have not touched the sewing machine. You'll see that I've got a bit of a updated backdrop going on over here, and that's because I did a bit of a shuffle around in my crafting space. And I haven't put the sewing machine back out since I did the shuffle around. So, and if you can hear some little children noises going on, I have an extra child this weekend. I have a friend's boy staying the night, so they're happily playing, and they're just in the room next to me, so you might hear them. I'm going to try and keep this episode a little shorter today, just because I don't have very much battery left in my camera, so I'm going to see if we can do this on the 10% battery that I have left. Okay, so let's get going with the finished objects for the week. And they're right here beside me. So I finished my Regia socks, my Andi and Carlos socks. Here they are, the pair. So what I did there was I have the design line by Andi and Carlos. This is the summer night colorway, and I've just put some drops Fable Unicolor in the cream for the contrasting heels and toes. They're just a plain vanilla sock with Fish Lips Kiss heel, and I do a rounded toe. It's the same rounded toe that I do for all of my socks. I tend to go with 2x2 rib for around 15 to 18 rounds, about 70 rounds down the cuff, do the Fish Lips Kiss heel, and then depending on the wool, about 75 to 80 rounds on the foot before doing the rounded toe decrease. So they are my second pair of finished socks for the year. I knit socks on 2.25mm needles. So, sorry, that's a lie. I knit them on 2.5mm needles. I have tried on smaller needles, but I like the fabric that I get on 2.5mm needles, and when you're on a winner, then why change, really? So that's the first finished object. And then the second finished object is a half finished object, and it's not one that you've seen before today. It is another sock, another Regia sock actually. This is some yarn that is called Regia Perfect, and it has a yellow, I'll just get the yarn skein. Sorry, it's actually a work in progress too, I suppose, because it's a half object, and I did start the second sock. Here it is, right here. But I've only done three rows this morning before I went out. So you actually pull from the center of the ball, even though it's a traditionally balled up skein of yarn. When you start, you dig in there and find the center, and it looks like this. You've got the yellow there, and then it goes into the beginning of the color. And the idea is that if you start at the beginning of the color after the yellow, you'll get two identical pairs of socks. And so far it looks good. It looks like it's going to work. I did do some slight, I did change things up just a little bit from the instructions, because when I was knitting the cuff here, I was knitting and I got to like row 18 of my cuff, and I was like, seems like it's going to be too thick of a cuff. And so I just stopped and I cut the yarn there, and I wound it off until I had the next to the red section, and then I picked up the knitting and joined it in like I would if I was doing a contrast cuff on any other pair of socks. Otherwise I think it would have ended up being like that wide, and that's just not for me, so I decided not to do that. But the rest of the sock is the same. I did this, I have a feeling, because the other regular yarn is like normal sock weight yarn. It didn't seem to be thinner than normal. It just felt like a sock to me. Whereas this one, as I got to here, I thought this seems like it's thicker than normal. Not very much, but just slightly thicker than normal. And so I did the heel. I messed the heel up a little bit, but you can't tell. Because I was at work when I was doing the boomerang section on the heel, and I tried to do it without looking at the instructions, and that was a fail. But I kept going anyway, got through, it didn't look too bad, didn't mess anything up. And then I knit down to the toe, and I just thought, oh, this looks like it's about the right length, so I'll give it a try. And I tried it on, and sure enough, it felt like it was the right length. And so this morning I just finished off the toe. But then when I tried it on after finishing it, it seemed as though it was not quite long enough. But in saying that, it's probably not a bad thing to have negative ease in a sock, because they're going to stretch out anyway, aren't they? So yeah, so like I said, I've just started the second one. If anybody's interested, I did have to wind off quite a significant amount of wool before I got to the next yellow section. So that red was at the end of this toe, and it's all the same as this variegated sort of section here. So I wound that off, and then until I got to the yellow again, and then I had to wind. Gosh, the yellow bit was quite long as well. I meant to bring it in to show you because it just felt like it went on and on and on. But yeah, so there it is. That's how much I wound off to get to the next section to start in the blue again for the cuff. They actually knit really fast. I only started those maybe 4 days ago. Maybe it was like Tuesday. I was going somewhere and I wanted something to knit on, and so yeah, I think it was Tuesday night that I started this, and today is Sunday. Sorry, it's Saturday. Saturday the 18th of March. Okay, so the camera battery did not last anywhere near as long as what I hoped it would last, and so I've just given it some charge and now I'm back. Alright, so I just finished talking about the sock, the red sock, the regular Perfect yarn. I like that yarn. In fact, I like some of the newer ones that are coming out. That one was given to me in a swap a little while ago, and in fact when I got it I thought, don't really like this very much, but I do like it. It went really fast, and it was really enjoyable to knit. And so I've ordered some different colors and some of the newer styles. I ordered off an eBay store of all places, so we'll see whether that comes quickly. There's tears. Somebody's just fallen off their scooter or punched one of the others. I don't know, but I think their dad's sorting them out. So if you can hear crying, I think he's okay. I hope. Oh, the other one's in trouble. So so the other thing that I've been spending a lot of time knitting on is my Marion cardigan by Andi Satterland. Here is a picture of what it looks like once it's knit up. And I'm using Cascade 220. Just have to uncover it here. It's sort of being covered up by all the other projects. I'm using Cascade 220 in the pumpkin spice colorway. And this, oh, just dropped it. This is how far I've gotten. So that's upside down. So I've done the top part and the two top sort of parts of the cardigan, and yeah, I'm really happy with how it's going. It wasn't as easy as I'd hoped it would be. Andi Satterland has some interesting construction methods, and I think that has contributed to it being a little more difficult than I would have hoped for it to be. It's so basically you start with the back, and this is the bit here that kind of goes down in under your arms, and then you pick up and knit along the front for the front panel on one side, and then do the same on the other side, and then you pick up and add in all the stitches around and pick up under the arms, and that's where I'm up to now. And I've just started in on the decreases to knit the lower torso part of the cardigan. I did have a little bit of trouble. Sorry, the sun has just come out really bright from behind a cloud, so I hope it's not blowing out too much. I did have a little bit of trouble with the cabling. Mostly it was not because the cabling was hard, but because I have trouble keeping count. And I'm really glad that I printed this pattern out on paper, because if I had tried to do this on my iPad, which is what I often use for my patterns, I would have had a really difficult time. It's the way it's written is sort of concurrent, so you're following the pattern row by row, but then separately to that you're following a repeat of the cable pattern. So for every row there's a particular row of the cable, but you're going down the rows and the cable pattern repeats, and it just gets really tricky in parts, and I was having trouble keeping up with where I was at. So much so that on the first side of the front part of the cardigan I actually had to rip back a number of times, and it took a lot longer than it should have. And then probably because it was nighttime and I was tired, I was having trouble keeping track of where I was up to. And so the only thing I could think to do, because I've got, oh my goodness, you should see it, there's so many scribbly notes written on the pattern, but the only thing I could think to do was to actually write it out row by row. So I've got the row number along this side in the purple, and then I've got where the number matches up with the repeat on this side, and whether that's a knit row or a purl row. And so now that I've done this, and I've done it right through to the bottom of the cardigan, so now that I've done that, I am having a lot more success without losing track of where I'm up to, which is good. So the top part took 1 skein of yarn, minus the bit that I used for doing the swatch. So I got all the way down to the bottom part of the arm on the back, and the 2 front halves, all with 1 skein of yarn, and then I joined the skein in, and you can't even see where I've done that on the back, which is great, and I'm going with the second skein. So I've got 4 skeins of yarn for this, and I'm pretty confident that it's going to be fine. And I think that when it comes to doing the sleeves, I'm planning on sleeves that land about here, but we'll see how we go. Maybe if I've got enough yarn, I might look at doing long sleeves, but the cardigans that I like wearing all have 3/4 sleeves, so I think that's probably the best bet. If this cardigan turns out well, I can see myself knitting another one of these, because it seems to be a really great shape for a lot of the dresses that I own. I was wearing a dress the other day. It's a ready-to-wear Target dress, and I had one of my cardigans over the top. It was really baggy, and it didn't sort of give you a good idea of the shape of the dress under the cardigan. But I could see that this type of cardigan would be absolutely perfect for that dress. So if it works out, I will make another one. If I make another one, it will be black, and I don't really like knitting with black yarn, but yeah, we'll see how we go. Yeah, so on the whole, pretty happy with that so far. I'm liking the Cascade 220. It'll be interesting to see how much it grows when it's blocked. If it grows a lot, I think I'll be in trouble, because the way that cardigan seems to be fitting me in the couple of times that I've tried it on, it seems as though it's quite the right size right now. So if it grows a lot, that could be difficult. So they're the only 2 things on my needles at the moment, the sock and, well, that's not true actually. There is other things on my needles, but they are the only 2 things that I have put any in effort of any description into this week. I haven't picked up either of the shawls that I've got on the needles at all. And yeah, I've just been focusing on, especially that cardigan, because I would really like to put it into the Andi Satterland by Inside Number 23. And so that gives me only 2 weeks to finish it. So I think that I'll be giving all my focus to that cardigan for the next couple of weeks, and hopefully by the next podcast it will be done and I can wear it. That'll be very exciting. The other thing I guess I'll move on now to stash enhancement, because there has been a little bit of stash enhancement this week. I felt like treating myself. That's all I can put it down to. It was definitely a treat purchase. And so I got onto Etsy and I went onto Circus Tonic Handmade, who is Hannah from Sydney, and I treated myself to this lovely skein, which is called Purple Back Starling. It's her Revelry sock fingering 4-ply, and it's an 80% merino, 20% nylon. And I did buy this with the intention of making a pair of socks with it. I think from the photograph I thought it was a little bit lighter, or maybe even a bit darker than one or the other. I can't remember. But when it came here, I was like, oh, I don't know if I want it to be socks. Maybe I want it to be part of a shawl. But on the other hand, I don't really like using wool that has nylon in it in shawls, unless it's garter stitch. So maybe it could go into like color affection or something like that. But I can't see it being socks for now, unless the right pattern comes along. I will reserve my pattern choices for this because it's really, really pretty, and I just want it to go in the right project. I'll put it over here with all the rest of my purple, because that's the purple friends are over here. The other thing that I bought this week, and I've dropped one of them, which is a pity because I wanted to show you all three. Here it is. I'll just get it. Hang on 2 ticks. The other thing that I bought this week was a complete purchase that was enabled by Instagram. There's been a lot of people posting pictures on Instagram from the Canberra show, and the Canberra show had some yarn people selling at the show, which is very unusual because that's, as far as I know, that's never happened before. But one of those people was Adagio Mills, and they are a mill based up in Orange, which is about 4 hours away from here, north, and really, really lovely place. If you ever get a chance to go to Orange and visit, it is, especially in autumn, it's absolutely beautiful. I would live in Orange. It's so lovely. And so I treated myself to some alpaca from Adagio Mills, and here it is. It's 100% alpaca 4-ply. The tags are actually different. I just noticed. One says 160 meters and the other one says 175 meters. I bought these with the thought that I might use it in the Snow Day shawl by Mina Phillip, which I know is written for a thicker yarn. It's written for Quince & Co. Chickadee, but I could not find any Quince & Co. Chickadee in a range. Well, I could find Quince & Co. Chickadee, that's a lie, but in the range of colours that I was interested in knitting the Snow Day shawl in. I want it to be in a grey palette, neutrals, because that will go best with the types of things that I wear every day. And because this was about 160 yards per skein, and Quince & Co. Chickadee is also about 160. Now that it comes to think of it, maybe it's 160 yards, not 160 meters, which would be quite different in terms of weight. But that's an aside. So I bought this with the thought of making that, and I think I still will. It is a fair bit thinner than I imagine Quince & Co. Chickadee is, because it's quite narrow, it's skinny yarn. But I did start knitting up a swatch just to see what the fabric is like. And it doesn't look very good here. It looks quite holey and not that great. And even to me, it doesn't look that great. But I did some reading on other people's pages who've been using this yarn, and they say that once it's blocked, it comes out beautifully, that it looks a bit messy when you're knitting with it, but then you block it and it just changes the yarn. It must bloom or something. It just changes it. So I'm going to power on and see how we go with that. I am contemplating, I haven't 100% decided yet, but I had four or five actually, skeins of this Knit Picks Alpaca Cloud, which is a very similar weight, also 100% alpaca. And actually when I bought this, I thought it was grey until I put it up against all these, and now I know that it's not grey, it's actually blue. It's like a very denim sort of blue. And so I'm thinking that I'll use all 4 colours in Mina's Snow Day shawl, and I might just add an extra colour. I need to look at the pattern to see if I can do that. I know it says in the pattern that this that it's a very adaptable pattern to make larger. So if I'll just have to have a think and a read and maybe do some notes, and if that works, then I might use all 4, because I think that if I only use the 3, because it's so much skinnier. Yay! Sorry about that. That's noisy. Sorry. You can't help these things when there's 4 little, sorry, there's only 3. You can't help these things when there's 3 little boys in the house. Boys are just noisy. Last thing I was going to talk about today was my little trip to the Handmade Market in Canberra this morning. It's been a long time since I've been to the Handmade Markets, because I found a while ago, about 2 years ago was the last time I went, that, sorry, my cat's just joined me, that it kind of started to get a little bit predictable and boring, and the same people were there every time. And there were still some of the same people there this time, but there is a lot more new people now. It's huge. I could not get over how big it is. So much different types of handmade crafty type things, timberware, painting, jewelry, clothing, food. Oh my goodness, there was so much food, and it was really good. I had some tastings from a distillery, that local distillery, just stuff that you just don't get to go out and see all the time, and I did really appreciate that. But the really interesting thing is that there is now so much more yarn at these things. There was 3 yarny types, and I'll insert some clips here. We went, first of all, I went in, and there was one from Sydney. That'll be the first clip that I put in. I think the Australian Wool Shop or something like that. They had some really beautiful things, really beautiful dyeing. Nothing that really took my fancy, a lot of gradient type stuff. You'll see it in the clip. And then I went around the corner, and there was the One Tree Hill alpaca stand. And I've heard quite a lot about One Tree Hill alpaca of late. Addydae Designs, who's another Canberra-based vlogger, she's a crocheter, and she's been doing a little bit of work with One Tree Hill to do some sample knitting, crocheting, and it was great to be able to see it. And she has, and you'll see in the clip that I've inserted, that she had this beautiful wall of colour. Now, me and alpaca, we're not the best of friends. I can't really wear it next to skin. I did not buy any yarn. Amazing, right? I went to somewhere where there was yarn being sold, and I did not buy any yarn at all. I touched it and I squished it, and I have to say her natural colours were just beautiful. She is a local to Canberra. She has they have their own alpaca stud, but then they come together with other alpaca growers and combine their different hairs, wool. I'm not quite sure what you call alpaca fur. They combine it and have it spun and produce a really wide range of natural colours. and the quality and softness is just beautiful. Sorry, I think I was going to get interrupted then. It's about to get noisy again. I have told them to go outside, but yeah, it's really quite nice outside too. You'd think they'd just go out there because honestly, it's way nicer out there than it is in here. So I was really impressed to see that there's local people who are coming together and actually producing a really good quality product right here on our doorstep. It's amazing. There was a third one too, which I'll insert the clip here. She had some beautiful dyeing, really beautiful. She had some roving, but there was some people in the booth when I walked past it, and it was a kind of small booth, and I didn't really get a good chance to have a nice look. But well done, Canberra, because we just don't see this kind of thing other than at the old bus depot markets wool day. I did treat myself at the Handmade Markets. I bought a few things other than wool. I like I showed earlier, I bought that beautiful pottery mug, and this is the second one, and it's by Hillgrove Pottery, and they're in Marion, which is just up the road, and I'm gonna go yell at those boys because they're being way too noisy. So I'm trying to build up a little collection of pottery things because they're also unique and I really love them, and I love stoneware for dinnerware, so I was super happy to see them there, and I might be going back tomorrow with my friend, so if I happen to buy some more, you know, what can you do really? I also I have a bit of an addiction to balsamic vinegar, and I just can't go past the flavored ones. It's yeah, it's an addiction, I have to say. So I bought this one here. It's by Sticky Balsamic, and oh my goodness, they are so good. So that's the orange, and I also got the apple. There was other things that I was tempted by, I have to say, food-wise. There was some beautiful teas and chocolate, but yeah, it's not the cheapest, I have to say. It's gourmet and boutique, so I had to limit myself, and so the balsamic came home because balsamic doesn't really go off. So, and also the other great thing about it is that if it's in the if it's in the cupboard and I haven't opened it yet, then it's somebody's birthday or something like that, then I can give it to them as a gift. The other thing that I got is this lovely candle. It's candied orange, and it's by Mrs. Nagar and Co. She had a wide range, but I really loved this one. It reminds me of a sherbet lolly from when I was a child. And yes, so I was pretty happy with that and all my other purchases. And then I did just buy a little art print for my sister-in-law for her birthday, which is a while off, but you know, when you see these things, because she loves meerkats. So that's by cheekybucket.com. So yeah, I'm really I didn't go to the markets with the intention of buying so much stuff, but hey, you don't get the markets come to Canberra once every they're about 4 to 5 times a year, so it's a treat. And yeah, so the next thing that's coming up in May is the old bus depot markets wool day, so I need to save my pennies so that I can buy some wool maybe at that. Hopefully there's some yarny people that have not been before, but we'll see, because it's over 2 days this year. It's usually only 1 day, so we'll see how that goes. So I'm going to finish up there. Thanks for joining me today and seeing what I've been up to. I hope that I have a finished cardigan for you to show off next time. And I hope that you have an awesome couple of weeks and get lots of crafting done. Bye for now.
This is the bit that should stay in the video because we have a perfect family.
Get outside, all of you! Front, not back. So I got they just scared the living daylights out of me. So I got, okay,